What a simcha gedola to be together, to learn Torah's Reb Nachman, Torah Samach Aleph. Moti Mamish opened up my mind last night in these Torahs, and these are the Torahs of understanding the Tzimtzum, understanding, as we're going to go into together, mental health, understanding why we get locked up into certain constraints, why we get stuck in stuff. And that could be getting stuck in any type of situation. Why do we get stuck in stuff? And then how do we pull ourselves out of the stuckness? And I want people to start thinking that if you were standing in an elevator and somebody walked into the elevator and you wanted to give them the sum total of all of Torah Samach Aleph, what would be your elevator pitch? How would you give over this to you? You have 26 seconds to do so. What would you give over in this Torah? And I want you to think by the end of the experience today, how I would give over Torah Samach Aleph. It's a very powerful thing. Sometimes, you ever wrote an essay and you didn't know what you was talking about, you just kept writing. You're hoping like somewhere in there, maybe there's something that I'll get a mark for. But it's actually the person that's able to be concise and precise because they know what they're talking about. So they don't need to write so much. So can we sum up Torah Samach Aleph in 30 seconds? I want to see Oisvav, and then I want to expand it out and speak how, basically this is all mental health. This is not medical advice. But we'll see wondrous ideas here of what it means to get stuck in something. And that could be anything. That could be stuck in an idea, thank you so much. Stuck in a certain concept. Always a pleasure having the Chevra with us. Yes, Shalom, yeshiva is good for your mental health. That's right. It is. Especially if it's a healthy yeshiva. So thank you for sharing that. Yankee's saying that Lakute Cafe is the real medicine. I personally come for the cafe, stay for the Lakute myself, Rabbi Sai. But Bezrat Hashem. Coffee is also good medicine. It says, Kavel Hashem, Chazak v'yametz libecha. Kaveh. Right? Kavel Hashem yachlifu koach. You have kaveh, gives you koach. Kavel Hashem, that's why it says it 2 times. Kavel Hashem, chazak v'emetz libecha, v'kavel Hashem. That may be the 2nd time of the day. But sometimes it has to be a mamish kavel Hashem. If the kaveh is not a mamish kaveh, then it's not a good kaveh. That's the medicine of the kaveh. So let's see Ois Vav, my friends, and then I want to really get into the ideas of mental health. All of a sudden now we have a world of tzimtzumim. Which means everything we said in the Torah, Amunas Chachamim, and Ksav Yodeinu, and Eretz Yisrael, and being careful of moisrus, and being careful of Kol Atzos Noshim Beis HaKiseh. As we're going to see what the whole thing in Ois Daled was with Beis HaKiseh. What's that all about? And understanding V'zarakti Aleichem Ma'im Tahorim, and the Sfarim of Machloikis, of listening, hearing, sharing, the whole world here, and the Shamas Gedolos, and the Galgalim. Remember the Galgalim? Remember the Soid HaIber, all the way back in the Soid HaIber? Chaim Kramer brings all the pictures with little concentric circles. Soid HaIber. So Ali Dezeh, a person could be nimtak all the tzimtzumim, all of the constrictions of his life, shehem adinim. Din is not usually something that we want. Din is when something's going wrong. Din is when you get to a stop sign. You're trying to go forward. You're dating a girl, you like the girl, and all of a sudden she says no. That's called din. Chesed is when she says yes. Din is when there's a stop sign. It's din, it's stopping. So all the time that there's tzimtzum, I want to be mamtik the tzimtzum, which is the dinim. The kol makom sheyesh eze din v'tzimtzum, and any time that you have a type of din and tzimtzum, nimtok al yedei zeh. It can be nismatic. I could fix it through this, through the entire movement of the Torah, which is al yedei tikun emunas chacham. Al yedei tikun emunas chacham. We'll get back to Emunas Chacham in a moment. Because by doing this, there's more Sfarim. This is called Torah Shebal Peh. If I want to fix any din, any tzimtzum, any challenge in my life, I need seichel to do so. Ki kulam b'machshava is bororu. They will all become clarified through the machshava. Shaseichel hu shoyrish hadinim. The sham nimtokim hadinim. In that place, we can sweeten all the judgments. We're going to go through all this in a moment. Ki ein adin nimtok ela b'sharsho. A famous idea. If you want to sweeten something, it's in the source. We're holding in the shahakal. By the way, is a shahakal a din? Is it a seichel prati or a seichel kola? A shahakal is a seichel kola. Shehakol. It's a seichel kol, not a seichel prat. That's why it covers everything. It covers everything. The kol din v'tzimtzum tzarach sheyeh nimtak b'seichel hashayich loy. Every single din needs a seichel that can touch it. Shemisham sharshay v'yesh l'kol tzimtzum v'tzimtzum seichel she'al yodoy nimtak. And every single tzimtzum, every single challenge in my life has a certain seichel that could pull me out of it. Says the Rebbe though, Ach yesh chachme iloy. There's something called chachme iloy, which is a higher than a seichel prati. I want to just see this, and then we'll see the mamish movement and the lumdis here. There's something called chachme iloy, which is above. Shekol ha-chachma is klulim sham, umekablim misham, ve'al kein sham nimtokim kol hadinim. If I can get to that place of the Chochmah Ilah, to the upper Chochmah, I could fix everything. So the first question is, why should I even go to a Seichel Prati? If I can just go to the Chochmah Ilah, go to the upper Chochmah, and everything will get sweetened from that place. So let's now slow everything down, and let's try to speak all this out. What are tzimtzumim? What are tzimtzumim? Tzimtzumim are din. They're dinim. Tzimtzumim are anything in my life when I get very stuck in something. Ever been stuck in something? Like, I mean, really stuck. And you're stuck to the degree that I can't see it any other way. I can't see this any other way. Maybe even stuck in the way that you're learning the Gemara. And your chavrusa says a pshat, and you're like, I don't hear it. Did you try to hear it? I don't hear it. I don't even know if you tried to hear his pshat and Tosfos. You're in a tzimtzum. You're in, this is my way or the highway. I can't see anything outside of this. I can't see anything beyond the way that I've boxed in my thinking. And going back to the beginning of the Torah, what's the whole storyline here? Ali de emunas chacham yechem lahitz mishpatein laor. Through emunas chachamim, we could take a mishpat. Mishpat sounds like what? Din. To or. All of my dinim, all of my mishpat, all of my tzimtzum, I don't want to live in this constricted place. So how is emunas chacham doing that? Because what was the opposite of emunas chachamim? Whoever's been with us from the beginning of the Torah, what's the opposite of emunas chachamim? Is yeminu small. And yemini, and smoli. I'm a leftist, I'm a right. You don't hear anything that the right is saying? You don't hear anything that the left is saying? Somebody told me something that's sort of an interesting perspective. I don't know if I fully believe in it, but I'm trying to be open to that perspective. But within that perspective, I think there's something interesting. He said anybody who's 20 years old and is not liberal in their values, he doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have a heart. But somebody who's 30 and has not become more conservative in their values, maybe is not thinking so much. I don't fully agree with that. But I think that there's qualities of a liberal thought that have merit, and there's qualities of conservative thinking that have great merit. Though a tzimtzum is, it's only this way. I can't see it any other way. I got stuck in this thing. So the emunas chacham, what was the whole point of emunas chachamim? It hears both from the perspective of the right, the perspective of the left, and it finds the derech memutza. What's the middle path? That pulls you out of extremeness. Yeah, Adam?
Rabbi, what about someone who comes and tells you, well, just like emunas chacham in itself is extreme?
So the whole thing of emunas chachamim is that the word emunas chacham is very interesting. And Moti and I were speaking about this yesterday. Because if it's a chachma, it's not emunah. If it's emunah, it's not a chachma. What do you mean emunas chacham? A chacham is something that I can understand. He's a chacham, right? Do I need emunah to be connected to the chacham? It makes sense. Doesn't it make sense if somebody's bigger and wiser? Somebody wants to become a guru in the finance industry. Or he wants to be a guru in, I don't know, give me a profession. Carpentry. So, doesn't it make sense that he goes to the biggest, chacham in carpentry if he wants to learn the trade? And he believes that this person can help him. We don't need to believe that. What kind of faith are you putting? You understand. It makes sense. So if I want a good life, so I look to the Rosh Hashiva. The Rosh Hashiva is a good life. He's a chacham. He understands life. He understands Torah Hashem. Do I need emunas chachamim to go to the Rosh Hashiva and ask for good life advice?
Yes.
Why do I need emunas chachamim? He's a chacham, and it makes sense to me. My seichel, my brain is indicating to me that this is a good idea. What emunah do I need?
It's going to make sense until he tells you something you don't want to hear.
Is that what he's going to do?
So I would say, for all the things you listed before, you could rationally hop it and it can make sense, but there are certain things that go beyond, the tzimtzum of rationale, that you need a muna to get beyond.
So I think there's a sod here. Ramati said maybe this is the soda ibr of our Torah. A lot of the world is really one of the two. That either I fully understand everything. I fully understand everything. Seichel mamish. The great philosophers. My seichel, I could figure out everything. I've got it all worked out. Then there's another big chelik of the world, which is just emunah. I believe. Can we speak about this rationally? Don't ask questions. Just believe. Just believe. You can't understand it. You can't understand anything. Maybe they'll tell you. And you're just floating. How can you know anything? Maybe we're just a brain in a jar. Well, but there's no evidence pointing to that. You never know, bro. How do you know? You don't know anything. You meet these people sometimes. Like, you want to meet downstairs by the water cooler in 5 minutes? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to be in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know. You never know. How are you going to get married? How are you going to keep a job? He says, you're going to show up at 9 in the morning. He tells his boss, I don't know. I'll do what I can, but you understand. You never know. Well, it's going to be very hard to live in a world of tzimtzum. Yeah, Russell.
So I'll say, to the credit of the, I guess, Chachamim of the nations, like a lot of the best philosophers are also mystics. Like Plato in a lot of his dialogues, specifically in the Republic, with the character of Socrates, said when they said he was the wisest man, he said, I'm the wisest man because I know nothing. And this I guess making bittul his own
Okay, so that's choshev. If that in fact is the case, that would be something, maybe like the Rambam is saying, that this person had as much as you can get without Torah. It seems part of the Soida Iber is that we could walk around. The nation of Israel are a people that are sichli. It says, Am chacham v'navon. We're a people that live with chachma. We think about things all the time. We're in the sugya all the time. You just ask the guy, where do you want to go for lunch? He's like, mitzad zeh. It would make sense to go to have mitzad zeh. It's like a sugya. I just asked about lunch. Why is everything a ganze sugya? We're a people that think all the time. But at the same token, we live in a place of emunah that we know there's only a limit to where my consciousness could go. And at that point, my consciousness has to move into emunah. There's a place that I'm aware is bigger than me. So I live both in emunah and with chachma. Emunah's chachamim. And that's a big side, is that there's things that I could figure out, but then there's things that I acknowledge are bigger than me. So when it comes to the chacham, when it comes to the wise person, I understand there's things that he knows. But it's not about just the chacham. Remember we said this is all about emunah in the chachma. There's a certain amount that I could figure out, but then there's an emunah that takes me to a place above the things that I could figure out. It's pulling me up. It's pulling me away from the yamin and the small. It's pulling me away from the tzimtzumim, where I get stuck in a certain thing. Let's go back into the tzimtzumim for a second to then be mamtik it and come out of it. So the person who gets into a tzimtzum, this is the only way it is. He's really stuck. He definitely has not moved into emunah. And emunah in the chochma ilah. He's stuck in something. And you could see this. You speak to a person. Sometimes people that are in debt. Debt is a type of tzimtzum. It's a din to be in debt. So he's living in a tzimtzum. He's living in some debt. So you speak to him about, do you want to come out for lunch? He's like, all day long, I've got this debt. I don't know. So he's not seemingly so happy. He got stuck in this thing. Everything is moving through like a prism of this problem, this tzimtzum. And he's obsessed with this thing. So how do we pull a person out of that? Or pick something else? Anything. When you recognize someone's stuck in something. You ever speak to somebody, you could just tell he's in his tzimtzumim. He got stuck in something that he can't get out. He's obsessed with some nekuda. And he can't get over it. So how do we get somebody out of that tzimtzum? So there seems to be a journey here that we have to go on. What's the journey? So Reb Nachman was teaching us, there's the tzimtzum, but then there's a seichel prati. There's a specific seichel that can latch onto that tzimtzum and really unlock the tzimtzum. That could sweeten it. But then after that, there's a seichel klali that could sweeten all the tzimtzum. So take me through that journey. You're speaking to somebody, he's going through all sorts of troubles. Who doesn't have troubles? Who doesn't have tzimtzum that they're in? Well, the answer is somebody with emunus chacham. So how do I take somebody out? If I'm learning Torah Samach Aleph, how do I take somebody out of their tzimtzum, that their mental health challenges? And we're not giving medical advice here. We're giving the point of advice. I'm in an anxiety about something. I'm so anxious about this thing, which is a tzimtzum. Some money thing, or some relationship thing, or some job thing. And I'm so stuck on it. I'm so stuck on it. How do I pop that person out? So I was thinking yesterday, now what's the first step when you want to help somebody get out of the tzimtzum? What's the first step?
Recognition.
I think it's the recognition. The recognition. It's being able to understand somebody hears what I'm saying. Somebody hears what I'm saying. Because remember, what was the tzimtzum? Was yamin or small. It was not a balanced approach to life. It was just not a balanced approach. It was getting extreme about something, but not seeing it in the full perspective. Seichel HaKol always means that there's a much wider perspective to the story. A tzimtzum means I got stuck in something. Now, what do we say in Ois Daled for a second? Ois Daled is a very interesting Ois. What did Ois Daled say? Ali Dezeh, you can look inside. Ein loy eitza shleima la'olam. Eitza shleima, what does that mean?
Good advice.
Good advice, which means I know how to live in life. V'tamin eni yochel says eitza la'atzmai. The guy doesn't know how to live. Ki yu tamin mesupok. He's always doubtful. Person in tzimtzum, should I do this? I don't know what to do. Everything's like a thing. I don't know. Safek Amalek. I don't know what to do. He doesn't have an eitzah. Ki kol eitzoysa b'chinas eitzoys nevorois atzos noshim. Ki atinoifish shel hamoisros oila el alev. Remember, he's living tzimtzum or moisros. He's living in the place of tinoifis. The bechinas helu giluleim al libam v'nasu libay metunav k'may beis hakise. He's in a place called Beis HaKiseh. Without being so, and I'm sorry to speak about this, but it says it's Torah. Torah, the little noid anu tzarech. Everything in Torah you can learn about. What's the Torah of the Beis HaKiseh? What's the idea of the Torah of a Beis HaKiseh? What do you say, Young? Zohar. What's the Torah of a Beis HaKiseh? If you're living in Tzimtzum, if you're living in Moisros, we mean no, Moisros is what's going on in the Beis HaKiseh. And then he brings the Gemara there that Moshe called me the Mesadim the Beis HaKiseh. That Noshim like to be Mesada things in the Beis HaKiseh. I don't know if it still is, but when I was growing up, that the Noshim, they go like in pairs, in groups, to the Beis HaKiseh. I never heard of such a thing. I'm saying I saw it in middle school. But it was like an inyan. So what's the Torah? What's the inyan of the Beis HaKiseh? What's that whole inyan about? So what's the Beis HaKiseh? Basically, it's Moisros, right? But it's a place that it's a bias. It's an enclosed space where there could be tzimtzumim upon tzimtzumim growing, festering, but being locked up in this place. Never joining a seichel hakolel. It's tzimtzumim that are living in the tzimtzum. They're just in that inyan. It's getting stuck on an inyan. It's trapped in a beis hakiseh. And what's the inyan of noshim? So there's such a thing. I really think you could mamish make a whole shalom bayis course on this little shtickle. Be'emes. I don't know if people are going to throw tomatoes at me for what I'm about to say, but apparently, I read this book many years ago. I don't know if they put it into Chaim. Men are from Mars and the women are from Venus. It's still on the bookshelves, or they put it into exile. It's not a number one bestseller anymore.
If you know where to look.
If you know, you can't even find it. You say? It became what? Like, I'm sure it's controversial at this point. But what's the side of it? Is that there are differences. I know. Okay, I had to dodge a couple of tomatoes right there. There are differences. Is that what's the inyan here? Let's say you come home, and you it's the summertime, and then you are approached with a tzimtzum. What's the tzimtzum? Oh, when we're not going on vacation this summer? At the tzimtzum, right? Oh, we're not going on vacation. Everyone's going on vacation. We're not. So how do you sweeten that tzimtzum?
Staycation.
How do you sweeten that tzimtzum?
Trying to understand what she's really going
Oh! If I try to be like Mr. Seichel HaKolel all of a sudden, and I'm like, that's what you, what, you don't like our life here? It's amazing here. We just got a pool in the backyard. We just did renovations on the house. It's gewaldig here. Will that help the storyline? Anybody ever saw the little thing? It's not about the nail. It might be the best Shalom Bayis video in 2.5 minutes. It's not about the nail. You saw? The lady's got like a nail in her head. And she's sharing like, I don't know, like I've got like pain in my head all the time. And every time I put on a sweater, it just like it snags on it's like I'm ruining all my clothing. And the guy's like, like there's a nail in your forehead. If we just take that thing out. She's like, you're so insensitive. He's like, he's trying to like be like Seichel HaKol, like, don't you, if, like we can just fix this whole thing right now. And when does the move change? Like, oh, I so feel that. And not shtick. I feel that. So listen to this. A tzimtzum is something that's so in its own world. As soon as you could come and feel that tzimtzum, what did you do? You made it more kolel. Because not just you and that, we're together now in this. That's called a seichel prati that's now expanding. And now we're sharing this together. Let's say a person's going through a hard time. So you come to the guy and you're like, Moshe, Chaim ze lo picnic. You know what, do you think life is a big picnic? You're trying to give him like seichel kolel. Don't you see the big picture? It's like, that was so insensitive. But you say, Moshe, I feel you. So all of a sudden, you feel me? We're somehow, I'm not in my tzimtzum alone anymore. It became bigger. It's leaving Beis HaKiseh now. It's not stuck. It's now that it's more kola, you feel me. And then imagine you say, yeah, and you know what? I went through that also. All of a sudden, and you know what? Not only that, we should know a lot of people go through this. Really? I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that was struggling in this. Do you see how it became so much more kola? I'm talking about a personal experience I had in my life. There's something that I'm struggling with right now. on a personal level, and I spoke to the Lulav Rebbe and his son. And his son gave me such a chizzuk. First, he was hearing the challenge I was going through, and then his son said, "You should know, we're all going through this." I said, "What? Like, from a Rebbeisha family? Like, I thought like you just have, it all just works out. Your father's the king. Like, shouldn't it all just like work? You're going through like similar tzimtzumim as me." All of a sudden, he came and he heard my tzimtzum. He expanded it. And I felt so much better. I felt like he was being niskalel. I was coming to a much bigger seichel hakoilel. I was being unified in a much bigger place. It was so helpful. I felt I wasn't stuck anymore. It gave me so much chizik. So the tzimtzumim are, I'm going through my challenge, and now I want to expand this. I want to open this up. I want to. So the tzimtzum starts with something stuck. Beis HaKisei. The hamtaka of that is the more that I'm becoming a seichel hakoilel, the more that I'm opening it up, I'm now starting to heal from that. It's starting to join a higher place. So far, so good, my friends. Any questions? Yeah, Adam?
What about, like, you can't penetrate, I'm just thinking you can't penetrate it from the outside, so you join it on the inside in order to break it. Is that what you're saying? Like it's impenetrable when you're on the outside, but when you join it, then you can like disintegrate the tzimtzum. Is that like...
When a person's in the tzimtzum, he feels like, how can I get out of this? How can I get out of this? But really, this whole Torah, because remember, Rabbi Nachman is teaching us that this doesn't just mean when you have somebody else, when there's literally a chacham that comes from the outside, and he gives.
There's all kinds of those things that are happening inside my heart. Remember, we said in Mustafam is yes, having a Muda in a chacham. Why? Because he represents the Seichel HaTorah. The chacham is somebody. What is a real chacham? Chacham, what's the Rashi do? He didn't just tell you something down. He says, I hear your perspective from you. I hear your perspective from you. He's taking all the sides and he's saying, is there a middle path? That's what he was saying before. He's giving a mishpat. But a mishpat, a judge, is not somebody that just gives up stock without listening to the side. I hear both litigants. I hear where he's coming from. I hear where he's coming from. And I want to make a direction, a healthy path forward. So I go to the Chacham, and he's able to help me do that. He's able to help me see the different sides of my story and manage it through that because he is a faithful Torah. But then the Rebbe said, in words Chacham also means to believe in yourself. That in my own self, I actually can get out of the symptom. But what does that mean? I have to tap into the Chacham that's inside of me. And the truth is, it's the same place. The Chacham, literally, the purpose is more tapped into the Chacham that you love. But you and I have it in our soul. You and I have it in our soul. When Hashem gave us the Yipa, the half of Nishma Chayim, Hashem gave us the Shama. It means that the good side of us, the Chacham of love, the good side of the ability.
I can have a place where I could go inside and I could become the therapist also in my own self. And Rab Nachman is giving you a technology of how can you go into your own tzimtzumim. You start hearing the tzimtzum. You hear that.
You speak.
This is not medical advice, but he means, like the Rambam says, you have doctors of the body and you have doctors of the soul. The tzaddikim are the doctors of the soul. They're going in and trying.
The Rambam happen to be both. You may be great in the course that I do of all time. You should have mercy with some situation. The Rambam. Yeah,
As far as applying the Torah to shalom bias, and to what you were saying earlier, as far as like what is the book Men Are From Venus or Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Um, Sometimes this is a trait that a lot of women have is they'll assume that their husband is a mind reader, and like sometimes you'll like see them upset, and you'll say like, "What's wrong?" And they'll be like, "Nothing," and they'll be like passive aggressive for like a couple of days. Then you'll say like, "How come?" And they'll ask like, "How come you weren't there for me?" Like, what do you do when they don't let you in to expand, and they just like have a bunch of tzimtzumim where like they don't tell you what's wrong, so you can't.
You have to be and really say like go here, maybe let's say you go on vacation, okay? You got to make a place somewhere, and you get there and they don't have a swim. The most of the time of the class. So there's no swim. So
So, if you come along and say, you say, no swimming pool? You know, I just dropped like, $20,000 on this trip. You're getting stuck on a swimming pool? Don't you appreciate all of what there is here? That's not going to work. But if you say, I hear that, there's no swimming pool. But you know what? Trust me, we're going to have an amazing time. In a second, it's all fine.
I guess what I'm asking, if you can't even have the opportunity to say I hear that because they won't tell you what's wrong, what do you do then?
You have to be a chacham. You have to be a chacham. You have to find, you have to go down. And remember, Reb Nachman in this Torah, you might think that tzimtzumim are like the worst thing ever. What does Reb Nachman say? He says, we need all the seichel pratis. We need all of these. Why? Because the more seichel pratis there are, when you could be niskalil in the seichel hakoilel, it gives more illumination. We don't run away from the tzimtzum. We want to sweeten all the tzimtzum. You have to find it. You have to go, you have to be a chacham, you have to find the tzimtzumim. So what have we seen so far, my friends? Now look at this. Reb Nachman adds another part to the story. How can we become people that are connected to the Chochmah Ilah? Says the Rebbe. V'ha-Torah shehi yotzes me-Chochmah Ilah. You know what's coming from Chochmah Ilah? The more Torah that you have, the Torah will help guide you. Ki oyraisa me-Chochmah Ilah nafkas. Because the Torah comes from Chochmah Ilah. The Torah is going to be this approach that it takes me all the way up. That's also part of Emunas Chacham, that the Chacham have so much Torah, and that inside of myself, if I'm seeking advice, I look to the Torah for advice. Hashem doesn't make a world and then just say, figure this thing out yourselves. He says, I created you, my dear, dear creation, and I want you to have the best life possible. And I'm giving you a Torah in order to connect. So the Emunas Chacham is I'm connecting to the Torah. The Torah is going to give me the guidance. The Torah is the Seichel HaKolim. The Torah can take me out of my tzimtzumim. You ever notice when you're like in a tzimtzum? I'm just talking personally. I could be in a tzimtzum. Some inyan that's like bothering me and I'm stuck in this thing. And oftentimes, by the way, it happens when I haven't learned in a while. Maybe you're working for some company and you're not learning as much. And your chavrusa, it's not like, and then you cancel. It's been like a week since you opened up a Gemara. And you're stuck in something. All of a sudden you sit down with your chavrusa. Maybe for the first 5 minutes you're still caught up in some tzimtzum. All of a sudden you get into the sugya. And like everything is okay. Everything all of a sudden in Torah, you feel like you're in such a seichel hakolel that all of the things that I was like occupied with, they just start falling away. Torah is the ultimate hamtaka. That's why it's so fascinating because Torah, you would think, okay, maybe Kabbalah is like the ultimate hamtaka of Seichel HaKoil, of Chochmah Ilah, because it just takes me to unity consciousness. What I'm learning, Shorsh and Nogach is Zapara, and I'm in Torahs that are so much seichel prati, so much detail. How is that helping me? I thought that would just keep me in Tzimtzum. No, because all those seichel pratis are getting included, and this is from the Noisein HaTorah. We all made the bracha this morning before we learned. Baruch Ato Hashem, Noisein HaTorah. That we don't say Natan et Torah, that you gave me the Torah. We say Noisein, you're giving it to me right now. Hashem, you're giving me the Torah every single second. You are giving me the Torah every single second. You're the Noisein HaTorah. So all these seichel pratis, all the details, all the Tosfos, and all the Pnei Yeshuas, all the Rabbi Kiva Egers, all the Rabbi Chaim Briskas, everything, all these pratim, if I can, that's why learning Gemara, you need more concentration of this, because otherwise you can get into tzimtzumim in the Gemara. You can't ever forget. That's why the Chassidim, Rosh Yeshiva loves speaking about this. He says, I grew up with the Chassidim. They don't just read a Rashi. They say, Zok the Heilige Rashi. Why do you say the Heilige Rashi? Why do you say the Heilige Rashi? Because what does that do? It puts Rashi's prat, his tzimtzum on the sugya, into a seichel hakoil. That all of this is heilig. This is all to connect to you, Hashem. I one time heard about very nice Litvische guys. They were having a vikoach in the Beis Medrash. If by saying zokt the heilige, if those two words, the heilige, is a bittul Torah. Maybe it's a bittul Torah. Because I don't need to say the heilige. It's enough just to say Rashi. I need to know that Rashi's saying it because within the sugya that's important. But the heilige, maybe every time you say those two words of the heilige, it's a bittul Torah. What do you say? I say it's like precision. It's precision Judaism. It's a bittul Torah. The heilige. So I was just sitting there, I was enjoying listening to this. Very much so. Until this very day, I've been enjoying it. Because I think, I'm enjoying it right now. I think that the Nakuda is, it's such a tzimtzum way to think, that when you're saying the Heilige Rashi, you're putting into perspective all the details you're learning is now to connect to the Chochmah Ilah. It's all to connect to you, Hashem. And even the Nefesh HaChaim, the Rosh Yeshiva loves speaking about this. I thought when you're learning Torah, you're just supposed to be mamish. The Shema means in the sugya, nothing else. So he says, people never quote the rest of the Nefesh HaChaim, which says you should make sure that you're thinking about Hashem before you learn. Make sure that you think about Hashem after you learn. Make sure that even between, don't forget. That sounds pretty chassidish to me. Why is that different than the Balatanya all of a sudden? So the Chassidim, we are weaving it in. Of course you're in the sugya, because that's a seichel prati. I need to get into these inyanim. But I'm never losing sight that I'm elevating all the pratim, all the pirtei pratim, all the details, all the way back to the seichel hakoil. It's all that every detail in my life, every mental health thing that I'm going through, there's a reason for it. And I had to go through it. And it was all to bring me somewhere. And it was all to take me to the seichel hakoil. It's all to get me back. And therefore, if I have emunas chachamim, I stop having so many tzimtzumim. But I don't push away the tzimtzum as if to say that they're horrible things. They're here to teach me something. And Hashem wants me to go through that struggle and bring that to Hashem. We're getting ready for Elul. Right? Av, Chodesh Av is Rosh Hashanah, Elul Ba. Elul is coming. Elul is all about Kichu imachem dvarim v'shuvu el Hashem. Take with yourself things v'shuvu el Hashem. What are these things? Just say do tshuva. Why does the Navi say take with yourself divarim and then bring that to Hashem? Because a person might think, you know what? I want to be close to you, God. I'm just abandoning everything I ever went through. I'm just going to connect to the Seichel HaKoila. As if to say, all my tzimtzum, all my challenges, I'm just going to ignore them all. Why would you do that? You know what the tshuva is? all those tzimtzum that I went through, I want to hear them. I want to now bring them all back to you, Hashem. So Nachman is giving this technology of moving through all the tzimtzumim, and he's saying that Torah is the Chachma Ilah. Torah is going to take us to this place. Any questions at this point, my dear friends?
Are we saying from this last one, not to just serve Hashem with your Nekuda Torah, your good points of value, but also the parts of value in your Averos, also serve Hashem
Yes.
in all those areas?
That's a big thing. Because otherwise, what could a person do? He says, you know what, I want to just get that out of my life. I'm not even going to focus on that. And what happens there is that usually the tzimtzum, if they're not dealt with, they just fester. They just fester. What we're talking about is, I want to sweeten those tzimtzumim. Now, you have to know, it could be at this point in my life, it's hard for me to go to that place right away. So I need a little bit more chizzuk with my neshama. I need more of the aset tov. I need more inspiration. I need to feel like a neshama that I could even go back and approach the tzimtzum. But Reb Nachman's talking about the ultimate life, the ultimate healthy life. And this is also talking about just daily decisions. Daily decisions. I'm in a situation, I'm in a tzimtzum. I don't know what to do. Remember, the whole Torah has another kind of underlying current, which is hanhagus yesharis. Having healthy hanhagas. How do I move through the world in a healthy way? As opposed to the Rebbe She'ena Hagun, which is an unhealthy way. It's interesting, the Rebbe She'ena Hagun. Remember him all the way back in the beginning? Somebody who makes a Rebbe She'ena Hagun, these not healthy leaders. What's the problem with the Rebbe She'ena Hagun? We said the Rebbe She'ena Hagun's, he's dislodged from the Chachma Ilah. What's the problem with the Rebbe She'ena Hagun? And he wants to take over the world. The Rebbe She'ena Hagun's issue is that he got so into his tzimtzum, this is the way, this is it, this is the mahala, and he's leaving the Chachma Ilah. And therefore he's getting moisrus, he's in his tzimtzum, he's in some box of something, and this is it, and there's no other way. Whereas the Chachma Ilah is, I'm connecting back to source. I'm going back up to the source. Yeah?
So what if you're connected to a big Rebbe that he follows a very specific way, like a very specific derech, either Sephardi or Ashkenaz or I don't know, whatever it may be, right? It's a valid way in and of itself, but he's so that's the only right there. But that's still emunas chachamim, because it's still attached to that, but it's denying other forms of emunas chachamim.
So I would posit to say that if this is somebody that says, for us as, let's say, Sfaradi, that this is the way for a Sfaradi to go. But if an Ashkenazi comes to him and he says, your way is not a good way, that's not good. It sounds like a Rebbe She'ena Hagun. Remember, the Rebbe that's Hagun is not Yemin or small. He sees the whole picture, from Mendel, sees everything, and he's able to create the Amuda Emtsa'isa, the middle path. What makes sense for this person? So first, somebody who's from Sfaradi, that makes sense for him to go in this way. But for somebody who's, let's say, an Ashkenazi person comes and he's like, leave all that stuff, change your tefillin. That's not good. That's not good. I get upset actually when I see a Sfaradi Yid come to the bima and all of a sudden start saying savs instead of tavs. Natan lanu Torah, asher nosan lanu Torah. Nosan lanu Torah emet. Natan lanu Torah emet. Good thing we have Rabbi Abigail to help create the healing. Now, it's true, there are halachas that when you're in a tzibur, you should say the kaddish like the minyan and things like that. What I think though is that it's pointing out a more systemic thing, is that someone's saying, I'm not celebrating what is the middle path for me. It's very, very important for somebody to be able to see all the valid ways. Very, very important, and address the person who's speaking. That's just balanced.
So what do you make of the whole yeshivish community you're a Sephardi and and not only Sephardi. I'm not trying to like do that. I'm just saying it's very like one way, and conform to this form of Yiddishkeit.
Like which form? If you mean learning Torah, then that's a good thing.
Not definitely learning Torah, I
Style.
keep thinking of Sephardi people, but like when a Sephardi Israeli guy wants to become part of the like Frum Oilam, like he's very like tough against it to actually like get into that unless he like conforms to,
I don't think he's talking about halachically. They're not going to
Saying culturally.
Yeah.
So it's important. We don't want to be caught in Tzimtzumim. We do not want to be caught in Tzimtzumim.
I call them followers of Sparta halacha.
We don't want to be caught in Tzimtzumim. We could be critical. We don't want to be caught in Tzimtzumim. We want to be able to see and allow a space for everybody to come to the Chachma Ilah. Sometimes there's practical considerations that we need to if you're going to have a minyan, the minyan can't at the same time be, we'll daven with the Pesukah de Zimra of the Chassidim, then the Birkas Kriyat Shema of the Sfardim, and then the Shmona Esrei Chazar Sashatz of the Sephardi Portuguese, and then, so you can't, it needs to be a certain, but that's okay, that's fine, because that is bringing that Seichel HaPrati into the Seichel HaKolal. It's interesting that in the Beis HaMikdash, there were 13 gates. There was 12 gates for all the tribes to go into the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. But then there was a Shar HaKolal, the 13th gate. If somebody didn't know which tribe they're from, they would go in through the 13th gate. So too in the Nusach of Tefillah, there's really 12 main ways. But the Arizal came along and he said, what about if people don't know what their Seichel HaPrati is? So the Arizal said, I made a Shar HaKolal. I made a Nusach of Tefillah that all can go through. That all can go through.
And what was that?
He says the Nusach of the Arizal. Chabad think that they have the Nusach of the Arizal. There's a big discussion exactly what does that mean, the Nusach of the Arizal.
There's like 5 different versions of it now.
And the Rashash. So the Nusach of the Arizal is the Shar HaKolal. Is the Shar HaKolal. So Hugh is asking a question, was the Torah defined as a flower? A flower is something we've been learning together. It's going to sprout. We learned that about in Isaiah 53. That there's going to be this sprouting forth. And we said that Klal Yisrael, the nation of Israel, will be growing out, it looks like of parched, arid conditions. And all of a sudden it will be flourishing. So flowers are something that can grow. And how do you water a flower? With Torah. It says, Ein mayim ala Torah. So we should be Zoicha Mamish to water ourselves.